Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode here at Tribal Trades Stocks on Sunday. And today we're going to talk about will history rhyme for the SPY and a stock pick to keep an eye on there. I'm going to give some entry levels and some targets to the upside as well. Before we do that, smash the like button. This does help get this channel out to more people and of course does help support the channel. And if you're new, welcome. Hit that subscribe button and you'll get the daily updates. So first of all, we're going to go to the SPY and we're going to look at the charts and see what we can see. Now, of course, we're in this inverse head and shoulders pattern from the weekly time frame. So let's recap that. And that target to the upside is about $720 odd for that play. Okay. Now, if we switch back to the daily time frame here, we're going to see what we can see. Well, first of all, we have the 9 EMI in the daily, which has pretty much guided this entire run. Remember, I gave the entry for the SPY back down here when the Tribal Trades indicator fired off in early April. One indicator to rule them all fired off. And as you can see, that has continued to the upside and actually went, and this is why I like the indicator. I developed the indicator so that it could give an early entry. So we didn't have to wait for an entry above the 9. But of course, if you miss this early entry, a break above the 9 and a 9 above the 20 are those two, the second and the third bullish signals and the second and the third place entries. This is one of the key trading techniques that I teach in the Tribal Trades Discord. And so as we saw that continue to move to the upside, in fact, anytime there was a retest of the 9 EMA on the daily time frame would have been a good place to add to that trade. And of course, the 20 EMA would have been a good place to have a stop loss. Now, we had a bit of a fake out. We had the Tribal Trades bearish reversal signal. And of course, could have sold here. I took profits here on the trade. And then as we came down, we thought we were going to lose this key level. This was my line in the sand here, the $619 level. We held that. We got a bullish reversal back. And so far, we're moving up. But don't forget, we have a bearish engulfing candle. How does this become invalidated? And I've been pointing this out for the last week since it happened, is we need to get above this bearish engulfing candle. And so far that has not happened. So that's what we're going to need to happen. Otherwise, this is just really a bit of a fake out before a shakeout. And this is right now a lower high. So unless we can make a higher high and get above 639. So I'm looking for $640 to get above to invalidate that bearish engulfing candle. Otherwise, I think we come down and we retest this. I would say the most logical place is going to be the previous all-time high around $611, $612. And of course, there's the 50-day moving average at 615. Currently, that should provide some support. I think by the time the market opens, that will probably be 616. However, all eyes are going to be on the market open on Monday. That's absolutely crucial as to whether or not it pushes up and makes a new all-time high or begins to fall away to the downside. And so just remember that with the SPY here, post-election years here tend to peak around about now. So from 1950 through to current, so for the last 75 years, this is what generally after a post-election year, the average has been that we start to trend downwards. We make a peak in August and then we bottom out in October before then heading up for November and December. Now, of course, just because history doesn't always repeat, but it often rhymes, do you think history is going to repeat and we are going to have a pullback in August? Or do you think we are going to continue to head up and defy what we have previously seen in the stock market? I would like to see your thoughts on that. Share your comments with me on what you're doing, what your plan is, what your strategy, and what you think might be happening with the SPY. Okay. And of course, a drop doesn't mean that we have to lose 611. The drop could be over the next 2 months down from where we are around in the 630s down to that 611 level. If we lost that level, then it's in danger of invalidating that inverse head and shoulders on the weekly time frame. We're currently in that play, and of course this is currently a higher low. We didn't lose this wick over here from the 16th of July. So technically we're still on a higher low. However, if we set a lower high and then come down and create a lower low, then we're in a bearish downtrend. For me, it's when we're under the 9 EMA on the daily, for me, that's bearish. When we're above it, it's bullish. That's my line in the sand. And I think the 3-day time frame can actually be very, very good. Because you can actually see on the 3-day time frame, we haven't really ever lost the 9 EMA on the 3-day time frame. In fact, we haven't had a single close below it. So I would say a 3-day close below the 9 EMA there on the 3-day time frame would be a bearish pattern there. So we'll keep an eye on that. I do like to have the 3-day. I don't show it very much, but I thought it was very interesting just to show you how interesting. In fact, the same thing, the tribal trades indicator gets you in, and then you can add to the trades as it goes up, and then every touch of the 9 EMA on the 3-day, not as many as on the daily. That's why I like getting those entries, but a possible exit on the 9 EMA on the 3-day time frame there. And of course, on the weekly time frame, that level, which is why I had it, was at about 619. And that's why I didn't exit that trade fully, although I did take some great profits on that trade, which has been open since April there. Okay, let's just assume for a moment that this will play out and that we will see some kind of a pullback on the SPY for August, and that we will see it come down to at least that 611, 612, 613 area, 610 area, and retest its previous all-time high and retest the inverse head and shoulders area there. And that does happen. So therefore, we would expect the majority of stocks to have some pullback. However, there is one stock that seasonally doesn't tend to do that. And so I want to share that play with you now. And that stock, of course, is Netflix. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the Netflix stock, but however, this can be a trade, not a long-term hold for me. So September is a minefield for most stocks, as we just saw with what seasonally happens with the S&P 500 topping in August and then seeing some downside in September before rebounding in October. But Netflix seasonally flips bullish. Strength typically increases from here in August, as you can see, through to October. Now, to maximize this play, I like trading the 2x leverage ETFs. Now, of course, if you don't able to trade the ETFs, we will go and look at the Netflix charts in a moment, but I would think that most people would be able to find a brokerage where you can trade the 2x ETFs. This gives you 2x the gains on this play. So where I would be looking for at the moment would be, of course, there is a few levels here. One would be right where we are at resistance at the close, which is $58.87 here. Any hold here or retest of this level can be a good entry. Of course, any pullback to the 20 EMA on the daily at 58. And I'm calling these out because some people might be listening and not able to watch. And then, of course, the 9 EMA in the daily down at 56.29. And then, of course, you do have the 100 a little bit further down there around 54, which is where we actually found initial support. And as always, look what gets you in the very earliest, the tribal trades indicator. And look what would have gotten you out all the way here on the 30th of June before we capitulated to the downside. This is getting you back in again. We are oversold, but only just, and we can stay oversold for some time, of course. And of course, above is the 50-day moving average at about $62. And so, of course, that can be an additional entry if you take one of these other entries here down lower, or if you're late to the party and you watch this in a few days' time and it's already there, this can actually possibly be another entry here. And of course, we do have some significant resistance. So this would be my take profit level. We'll take profit. Let me just say this. I'll reword that from take profit to target level. That would be a target. And what depends what happens here. If we break through, you can actually add to the trade here or take some profits off the table and stay in the trade. And of course, this is a firm rejection. That might be a good place to get out of the trade and maybe get back in on it if it was to hit there. Ideally, we'd love to see this trade go all the way up to $66, pull back to the 50-day moving average, and make a higher low here. So ideally, actually, we'd like to break above this candle here, which is at $66.55. That would then create a higher high. So that would be perfect. We'd break through there. Even a wick above there would be perfect. Then make that higher high, come back and make a higher low off the 50-day moving average, and then continue to the upside with a second target that I'll give you there at $73. Okay, $73. So those are the targets. Obviously, I'll keep this trade updated in the Discord on a daily basis there. To the upside, we could see that beautiful target there for Netflix. Now, of course, if you aren't able to trade the actual ETF, let's go to the stock itself. And of course, here we have levels would be at about close to where we are right now at around about $1,200. The closing price was $1,211. Okay, there on the Netflix trade. So any hold there can be an entry there at $1,200, or of course the 9 EMA is sitting at $1,180 there, and a little bit further down is 1,145, and the 50-day moving average is at 1,228. So of course any break and hold above this level, of course, as well. And then those targets to the upside are going to be that first target there is going to be up at around 1,277 and then 1,340. You can see why I trade the leverage ETF, because the gains that you can make based off that can be a lot higher, getting that 2x. Okay. And then of course, make sure you set those stops. Obvious place for stops would be the 100 EMA on the daily there, because that would be creating a lower low. So that's your stop loss. I've given you entries and I've given you targets to the upside. I've given you the full trade there, and that would also be the case on the Netflix long play there as well. You would want to have your stop loss below this candle here, which is at $52.60. If we were to lose that level, then of course that would stop out that play. But of course, even if you do get stopped out, you can get back into plays as they break above as well. Sometimes you'll get a fake out before the breakout, but you don't want a fake out and then a shakeout and we go further. And that's why stop losses can really, really help you, so you can help you stack up the wins and minimize the losses. And speaking of wins, the Tribal Trades Discord has been on fire overnight with all the folks from down under. And of course, in Scotland, the Braveheart trader himself, William Buffett Wallace, seems to always wake up to these every morning, waking up with a win this morning. It's great when you're earning money while you're sleeping, and that's what we teach in the Tribal Trades Discord. The Tribal Trades family, I call it, because it's like a family, the way everybody cares and looks after each other and helps each other in this journey for wealth transformation. We've got the Thunder from down under. We've got two Thunders from down under, one from New Zealand, one from Australia, racking up the wins there. Absolutely fantastic from Zacho and Not the Goat there. And then, of course, Lawrence, absolutely fantastic with some amazing trades here. Looks like 8 wins there, and it looks like well over $1,000 there. Absolutely fantastic there, racking up some trades. The Texan representing the USA there with a win on Pengu. And then, of course, as April Parker seems to just continually crushing all of these amazing trades here. Well, that's all we have time for today. So, of course, until the next episode, or of course, until I see you all in the Discord, enjoy your Sunday with family and friends, and maybe some trading if you have time, but otherwise relax. Until then, happy trading.